so when I graduated, I was traveling, so I just decided to work part-time. So I was working as a substitute teacher sort way in my school district, and I was working part-time for this coffee place. And I remember we first put out a sign saying, like, we're not going to be giving out cups and saucers anymore, just too much of a risk. Then it was, oh, you can't bring your own cup in anymore because we're not going to be able to touch it, but you can definitely, we'll give you the discount that you would get for bringing in a reusable cup. Then it was, we have to be really aware of COVID-19. There's a sign up saying we're not going to have silverware out anymore, please be advised, blah, blah, blah. I started wearing gloves when I was going into work because nobody was wearing masks, and I was just wearing like those plastic gloves. And I remember this girl I worked with giving me shit for it. She was like, that isn't going to protect you from anything. I'm like, it will protect me from something at least. Like, if anything, it's just keeping my hands clean. And she's like, well, it's not really a big concern. And I'm like, again, I was in another country when I first heard about this, and I saw on TV that it was getting really bad, and I did not want to run that risk because it stuck out to me what those people were saying on TV and seeing those checkpoints. And I'm like, I don't want this to happen here. And I'm one person, but I want to be able to do the right thing. Then we closed. Everybody's hours started getting slashed at first. So actually, let me backtrack. So our hours got cut. People were not allowed to come in and sit down. They were allowed to get their coffee and leave. That was it. They were allowed to come to the door, get their coffee, go. Shelter in place in Illinois was announced, and I'm thinking our shop's going to be closed. My boss texts everyone saying, oh, our shop's open, and we're all like, what? Like, why? And then 2 hours later we get a call or a text or something, and he's like, yeah, we're closed. We are told we're going to open on April 7th. April 7th comes and goes. We don't open. I get told at the middle of April that we're going to open up on May 4th. I file for leave of absence because I know that my mom has asthma, so she's at risk. And I managed my boss's expectations early on. I said, my mom's at risk. As long as this is going on, I'm not comfortable going to work. And they know they can't hold that against me, so I'm kind of grateful for that. But it's just getting, from what I've heard, again, there were only 3 people who filed for leave. It was me, the friend who I told not to smoke, and another girl. And we've been told that our boss and our staff are not allowed to talk to us because we're on leave, because it could be interpreted as trying to guilt us into coming back. And we talked to a few people, since then. I just spoke to my boss about what was going on. He wasn't really allowed to talk to me about it. One of the girls who I work with, she told my friend, because he reached out to her, he said, is it busy? And she's like, no, but some of us actually need money. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, it's just, I think everybody's taking it differently. And unfortunately, I didn't really feel safe going back to work because I knew a lot of the people I worked with did not think this was a big deal, and they were not social distancing, and they did not care. And I'm like, you know what? I know it's important to make a living. I know it's important to earn money, and I know it's important to give back to your community, but I'm not comfortable with it. And I didn't want to come off as like super arrogant, so I kept that to myself for a while. But as I'm getting more angry about it, because I know people are working there who are not taking care of themselves. And I know my boss will probably reach out to me and be like, when are you coming back to work? And I'm planning to tell him the same thing I told him in March. As long as this is going on, I have someone in my family who's at risk. I'm not willing to put her at any more risk, and I'm not willing to run the risk of bringing anything home to her, especially when I know my staff and my customers are not adhering to this. And I'm not saying all my customers are not adhering to this. I know even before the shelter in place was announced, there were people coming in just like trying to keep minimal distance and all that, but it's just one of those things.
Right.